So welcome to Let's Listen, a video podcast in which we have conversations with IBMers about their own neurodiversity and their careers within IBM. I'm Andrew Williams, your IBM host today, and today we'll be listening to Vince Trombetta, a technical leader in sales from Halifax, Canada, who joined IBM on May the 2nd. So that's right, just a week ago. So welcome, Vince. This is very exciting. I just want you to introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about you as a person and as a IBMer. That'd be great.
Andrew, thank you very much for having me here and giving me an opportunity to share my experience with co-workers and people thinking about IBM and how would their neurodiversity would interact or would take a part of their journey throughout the company. So my name is Vincenzo. Some people call me Vince. As Andrew said, I'm a technical account lead for the Atlantic Canada region. I have been engaged in technology basically since I was a kid. Like I remember being a kid and saying, "Oh, I want to make those movies. I want to make animations." But then I went into technology, and then I ended up doing business intelligence and performance management solutions, and now I'm here in IBM.
Yeah. So was the interview process different for you as well, or was it just what did it diverge anything in any particular way?
No, it was very fast paced. It was kind of an opportunity. I got reached out. They asked me, "Are you interested in working for IBM?" I'm like, "Of course, who wouldn't, right?"
Yeah.
And the process went fast. I had the 2 3 interviews, and I think that it did help also the fact that people were open and they were interviewing me as what the value that I can bring, and not the disability that people might think that I have, because it's not a disability, it's a way of being. We just think differently, right? We process the world in a different way. I get to see it from a different perspective, right? You're engaged in a room full of salesmen. Salesmen are, they go to the point, right? They talk over, and I would sit down and I would be looking at these other people, and they'd be quiet. They would try to talk, and I'm like, hold on, let's try to see a way to get them engaged. And the moment that they felt confident to speak, oh my God, that person had a huge amount of value to offer, and we changed the entire presentation just because of her, right? Just because what they added to the table. And if I wouldn't have seen that, or if people wouldn't have been open to stop for a second, breathe, slow down, and listen, it would have been a completely different thing. Like, her value that she brought to the table, and the fact that people were open to stop and listen and to accommodate, it was a very humbling experience.
Maybe you could tell us a little bit about your neurodiversity and how it impacts how you approach work and how it impacts people around you.
Well, to be honest, this is fairly new to me. I haven't really been diagnosed with ADHD, but every doctor that I speak to, they say, well, 90%, just go do the test, right? So I'm in that process, but it makes sense now. All my life, yeah, I would be perfect I'm doing multiple things at the same time. Sometimes my project would not get done. I would start trying to grab coffee, and then end up in the garage trying to clean something, because all throughout the process I would see things that needed to be addressed, and they needed to be addressed now and at that moment. So amazing when you're doing work that requires you to do multiple tasks at the same time, but it's easy to lose focus, right? So it's a bit of a challenge. It's a bit of a challenge, but it's an interesting challenge. When I came to IBM, I was humbled by all the neurodiversity opportunities. I was afraid in my other company to even say it. that I had ADHD, and then when I stated that I had it, everybody was like, "No, you're just Latin American. No, you're just being Italian. No, you're just being," and that's and yes, it could play a part, right? But that's that's not me. It's me. I'm me. It's not that I'm Latin American, right? It's just that I'm all over the place, as you can see, I guess.
All right.
IBM has been a very interesting experience. It has been a very humbling experience. You walk into these rooms, like I've been doing training all the week, and you walk into this room and you think, oh, I got it. And then you're looking at the screen and you're getting concepts, and then everybody's talking, and you're like, okay, hold on. You put your headphones, you start, and you see that nobody's judging you. Nobody's like, okay, cool. I like to fiddle a lot, so they sat me in the center of the room, and I was like, okay.
Yeah, yeah,
And I just went to one of the people in charge of the train and said, listen, I kind of need a corner. I like moving around. I have ADHD. She right away. She just like, no problem. Move. Don't worry
yeah.
about it. I
So you mentioned headphones. Are they noise canceling headphones?
Yes, they are. They tend to block the outside.
Yeah,
One of the things that I've learned is that when you hyper focus, you get done everything. Everything gets done, right? Problem is that as you're hyper focusing, that can be on fire. Like that tree can be on fire, and I can be
yeah,
seeing it, and I'd be like, I don't care. Like the world, you don't process the world the same way, right? The
yeah,
kids screaming, and you're like, oh, shut up, I'm working. And my wife is
yeah,
like, "Oh, you're not working. You're coming here to help me. The kids are crying, like they need you. Ah,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
right. So the headphones help a little bit. Um, Also, what helps also is the support system, I think. um, I had a presentation, and I couldn't, like I started talking, and then I couldn't, I kind of started crying, and it felt bad, right?
yeah,
And they let me go, no questions asked, they let me get out of the room. I was like, wow, good company to work for. Like
yeah.
they value you as a person, not as a as what you bring to the table, right? Very humbling.
So, so what do you see yourself doing, being mapped out within IBM over the next year? What are you being challenged with?
So I one of the biggest challenges that I'm gonna have is learning the technology.
Yeah,
I come from the application layer. I come from a company that all we did was applications, and we
yeah,
did applications and the data that we do stuff with data. Data would make sense to us, right? Whereas here it's more about the IT processes and how to get that data to the right place so that people at the application layer can work on that, right? So to me the biggest challenge is going to be learning the technology and the fact that I was able to do my got my certification for Red Hat sales in a week.
yeah,
For me it was amazing. So I was looking at some of my neurotypical colleagues, and they would go through the training and they would take the questions and they would answer an hour, and I'll be like, I know the answer. I think I know the answer, but a word, a comma, wrong, right? So go back to the, and I at some point I said, you know what, this is not for me, but I did it. I did
yeah,
it, and it gave me such a sense of accomplishment that I haven't felt in 16 years working in business intelligence. That tiny little thing that I was able to do as part of IBM was as fulfilling and successful as me providing a solution to a customer, and that's very humbling.
You know, we're going to have this conversation again in a year's time, because I want to circle back with you and find out, the expectation, um, going beyond the first week and seeing what happened during the next year. I think that'd be great to come back to you. Unfortunately, that's all the time we've got in this Let's Listen podcast. So I'd really like to thank you, Vince, for your time today. Uh, the background looks lovely. I wish I could be there, sharing a cup of coffee with you, but unfortunately, that's about the time. So feel free to post if you have any questions for Vince and myself below. But you can find out more information about neurodiversity at IBM at ibm.biz/let's listen. And as always, thanks for listening to us today at IBM.